Is Africa Cup of Nations a major tournament or not? Is AFCON a major tournament? Welcome to the weekly pause, where we shall be breaking down the biggest stories of the week pertaining the African continent. My name is Maestro. This week we are tackling a debate that got the football fans heated. Is Africa Cup of Nations a major tournament or not? Is AFCON a major tournament? Well, that question itself is ridiculous, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about how the question even came up.
The fact he's probably with Egypt and he's probably not playing in the major tournament.
AFCON is a major tournament, rightfully so.
AFCON is a major tournament, just so you know.
Africa Cup of Nations is a major tournament.
AFCON is big, wasn't it?
This is how everything kicked off.
Remember when him and Mane was going for it, and
Former footballer and Sky Sports pundit Jamie Carragher recently made comments that seemed to downplay AFCON's significance, and let's just say the world of football wasn't having it.
In fact, if you're in the Euros or you're in the Copa América, it's deemed to be big, so the AFCON's in the same level.
Players, analysts, and fans all weighed in. But this isn't just about one comment. It's about a wider issue of how African football is viewed on the global stage. Why AFCON is a major tournament? I shall break it down. Number one, history and prestige. AFCON has been around since 1957, making it one of the longest running continental tournaments, just like the UEFA Euros and Copa América. On the other hand, AFCON is very significant. This is the year 1957, the first African country broke the chains from the British colonialists. Ghana became independent in 1957 from Britain. Number two, top class talent. You cannot deny that. It's undebatable. Some of the best players in the world have graced in this tournament. Think of George Weah. Think of the man of the moment, Mohamed Salah, Sadio Mane, Didier Drogba, Victor Osimhen, the man who became possibly the first African to be the top goal scorer in the Italian league. Ashraf Hakimi, Torre brothers, Michael Essien, Obi Mikel. Think of all those big stars and many more. Number three, massive viewership. AFCON attracts hundreds of millions of viewers globally. The 2021 edition had over 500 million, if not billion, people watching. That's not a small tournament. It's a global spectacle. Number four, unpredictability and competitiveness. Unlike some tournaments where the same few teams dominate, AFCON is unpredictable. Smaller teams the Cape Verdes or Equatorial Guineas can pull off major upsets. Remember the final between Zambia and Cote d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, where Zambia won. But Didier Drogba's Ivory Coast was expected to win, was almost guaranteed. But Zambia won. That's what makes football exciting. And that's not a small tournament. The importance of football in Africa can never be emphasized enough. Football in Africa is more than just a game. It's a powerful force for unity and change. In Ivory Coast, just a time of intense civil conflict, Didier Drogba and other senior players intervened when politicians had failed to negotiate peace. After qualifying for the 2006 World Cup, Drogba pleaded on the national television, on live television, for both sides to end the war. And incredibly, a ceasefire followed. How important is that? Across the continent, football has been used to bring people together. Remember in South Africa, when Mandela had just come out of prison, and South Africa won AFCON, how people celebrated, people of all races, people of all religions. So, football in Africa has been used to provide hope in times of hardship. The Western bias. Here is the real issue. Some pundits and football analysts have a tendency to dismiss anything outside of Europe or South America. What do you call that? That ignorance and arrogance leading up to supremacist mentality is unacceptable. When players leave for the AFCON, the conversation is often about disrupting club football. But no one says the same for Copa Americas or the Euros. So how disrespectful is that? When European stars play in their tournaments, it's representing their country. When African players do it, it's called an inconvenience or an interruption. You see the double standards. That's the supremacist mentality that is unacceptable in this 21st century. But here is the real question. Does Africa even need Europe's or any other supremacist approval or validation of AFCON? Why should African football constantly seek external validation when the numbers, history, and passion speak for themselves? The impact of undermining AFCON. The impact of undermining AFCON is so negative to the development of football in Africa. Discrediting AFCON isn't just an insult to African football. It has real consequences. Number one, it discourages future generations. If young footballers of African descent grow up hearing that AFCON is less important than the Euros or Copa America, many may feel less motivated to represent their national teams. Over time, this could weaken African football as more players prioritize club football over their heritage. We have seen so many African players choose to play for France, choose to play for England. They choose to play for Scotland. They choose to play for Germany because of such discouragement, because of such notions, thinking that AFCON is inferior. Number 2, unbalanced global investment and coverage. When major media houses and football governing bodies pour billions into the UEFA Euros, but not AFCON, they treat AFCON as a secondary event. It reinforces the false notion that African football is inferior. It's time for FIFA, CAF, and global broadcasters to invest equally in AFCON, ensuring top-tier coverage, infrastructure, and financial backing, just like they do for other international tournaments. So, let's be clear. AFCON is a major tournament. The talent, the passion, the competition, the viewership, it all speaks for itself. The real question is, why do people still question it? Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think AFCON gets the respect it deserves? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe. For more weekly breakdowns, see you next time on the Weekly Pulse. Thank you.